Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Sharla.
And this is Humanity, Human-Shaped Learning.
And
it's Sharla's episode on self-care.
we've made our way around the circle.
That's right. That's right.
To self-care. And, you know, I don't know about you, but being at this sort of post-holiday season, starting out a new year, that can be exciting, and it can also feel a little bit dark, like we're in the middle of winter and there's a long ways to go till summer, and a lot of those, I don't know, those feelings can kind of take over.
Or the feeling like I've got a lot of expectations because I was going to do some New Year's resolutions and I've already screwed it up.
Yes.
Or whatever.
It's the afternoon of January 1st and I've already eaten all the sweets that I said I wasn't going to.
I blew it. Oh well, the rest of the year.
I don't know. Also, the other thing I notice is, you know, during Christmas time or throughout the holidays, I have a lot more just stuff in my house, you know, lights and maybe a Christmas tree and just
wrapping paper.
There's just projects,
bows.
You know, maybe a puzzle sitting out. And you get to the end of all of that, and there can be sort of this slump of, you know, so what now?
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of some blues come in.
Sure.
I know I struggle a little bit with just the darkness during this time of year and feeling like I'm not getting out into the sun very much, and it affects my mood.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. My wife and I both have that struggle. Gets very few hours of nice bright sunlight during the day, and you just start to realize, wow, I'm a sun creature.
Yeah.
I need it.
I know, I am too. And so what I chose for today, then for self-care, is to think about, are there things we can be doing to help with that?
Awesome.
That are really not that hard to do, you know. But so that's what I decided to focus on today. And one of the ways I thought we'd enter into it is by listening to something.
Awesome.
So I really don't want to say anything more about it.
But this is our third thing?
This is our third thing.
All right. Awesome.
And it's some music. And
cool.
I just thought, let's just start it and listen for a little while and see how anything you might notice about yourself or just whatever you might notice as a result of it.
Awesome.
All
okay.
right.
So here we go.
Okay. So just letting that continue to play for a little bit. Is there anything you notice in yourself as you listen?
It's really calming.
I notice that it's very unpredictable. I'm not expecting any certain thing to happen in the song.
It's got a really open structure. It's not predictable, like you said.
Not really a really specific melody, but rather the melody seems to move in and out of your awareness of it.
It's like it's more like a mood background than like a song or
one of the things that happened for me just in the first few moments after I started listening is I noticed my shoulders began to drop down. I didn't even realize that I was sort of tensed up, but I noticed my body relax a little bit.
It feels a little bit like I ought to be getting a massage.
It does. So go ahead and pause the music.
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do is to read the title of it, of what it was that we were listening to.
Happiness frequency. Serotonin, dopamine, endorphin release music. Release negativity.
Ooh.
Wow.
So as we, wow,
Well, that fire's popping. It's releasing something.
it released something. So actually that is a really great way to lead us into what my article is today. I chose a research article about the impact of those happy hormones, they call them, on our bodies. And so actually there are four, and I don't think any of this is any new information for anyone, but it's mostly, I just wanted us to think about it in a slightly different way than maybe we have. So when we think about those happy hormones, those things that we have in our bodies that help us to maybe have a little bit of control over our mood and how we're feeling, we're thinking about four. So there's dopamine, there's serotonin, there's oxytocin, and there are endorphins. And so those four things all are working together inside our bodies to help us. They do more than just help us with our mood, but that is one of the roles they play in our bodies. And so in that particular piece of music that we opened with, it actually was focusing on three of them. And there have been some studies done about certain kinds of sounds and musical notes and frequencies and things that help our body to feel those.
Yeah.
To note or to have a release of serotonin or dopamine.
Cool.
And so I thought that was really interesting. And one of the other really interesting things about that particular piece is when I was looking at it, I wanted to find something kind of current. And this particular piece of music has had over 3.5 million views since July.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really interesting when you think about the kind of year we've been having.
Yeah.
You know,
People know they need something.
right.
For sure.
And as we're moving into a new year and thinking about all that's ahead of us and the hope for maybe some things changing for the better in certain ways. Maybe some of this will happen naturally, but it made me think about the things that we actually are in control of, that we have some control of, to be able to help ourselves out of some of those doldrums or those low moments.
Right.
And so that's what led me to this article.
That's great.
And so as I began to look at each of those happy hormones, it sounds kind of funny, you know, to call them that, but it's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Each of those impacts your body in a different way, and each of them has a different way that you can help your body to release them.
Wow.
So I just thought maybe we could spend a little time.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'm up for this.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because maybe something will strike you as something that maybe you could fit into your day as you're, you know, going about your, this is still a very dark time of the year. What are some things that we can do if you are a person like me or like Scott or others in our lives that struggle with that seasonal affectation or just, I don't know, just for whatever reasons right now are feeling a little bit lower than we normally are. Or would maybe not that we normally are, but where we would like to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I thought we'll talk about each one and a little bit about what are some ways you can do it, how you can boost it a little bit.
Terrific.
So dopamine actually is one that is about motivation. And I don't know about you, but, you know, like being at the beginning of a new year, if you set a New Year's resolution or you are, you know, really focused on some sort of a goal, dopamine is one of those things that's going to help you have the gumption to keep doing it.
Right.
And what I thought was very interesting.
Whoops.
Whoa, we okay?
It's okay.
I was pulling a Scott there.
Oh, ha.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
That's
kidding.
okay.
Just today.
Just
Today. One of the things that is really helpful for your body to release more dopamine is to have small goals and make a step towards it. So maybe it's not your big resolution for the year, but that there are little things that you're doing each day that you're experiencing a little bit of success in doing.
Right.
So I can tell you, I started doing something actually not real recently, but somewhat recently, where I just want to get up and stretch every morning. I was feeling my body as I get older, just I'm stiff and like
Right.
sometimes I sit during the day and I just by the end of the day I'm uncomfortable. And so one thing, it's a very small thing. It takes just a few minutes, but first thing out of bed, stretching.
Yeah.
A little bit, taking some deep breaths, and just like moving my neck and my shoulders and, stretching a little bit. And I have noticed that it keeps me a little bit motivated to do some other things that I'm wanting to do.
So what you're saying, or what the article's saying, is setting a manageable goal and achieving it helps to release dopamine.
Yeah.
Whereas if I say, in a week I'm going to have a massive 6-pack, and
You're going to feel frustration.
I'm going to feel frustration.
Yes.
So
Not saying that you're that far from the six-pack.
What I'm saying though is we undermine ourselves by, I'm not saying by setting our sights too high, but unrealistic things, unrealistic things that are like, it's like I'm setting out and I know I'm not going to make it. And then I prove to myself, yep, I knew I was a loser. I couldn't make it. I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
And
or you don't do it one day and suddenly it's like, well, blew that.
yeah.
So I will say one of the things that I do and have done that helps me, I'm not really a list person, but I do get a little bit of that dopamine kick from marking something off.
Oh, right.
So I made myself a 30-day challenge, and I made a little table, and I have the things that I'm really hoping to do each day that are related to feeling better. So
Right.
making sure I get out for 30 minutes of exercise at some point, or so many steps in during the day, or stretching, or maybe it's reading, making sure I'm reading for enjoyment and not just work, or
Right.
things like that. So I have this list, and at the end of the day, I like to go in and check it off.
Yeah. Well,
And it, I think, helps me feel like, first of all, I remember to do it because I keep it by my sink in the bathroom.
right.
And so every morning I think about that first thing. And then at the end of the day, when I'm brushing my teeth, getting ready for bed, I see it, I got to check the things off. And if I forgot one or whatever, it's okay. That's just an empty box on there for that day. But it reminds me that those are my goals.
Well,
And so it
that's a thing. I mean, there are a lot of people who are list people,
Yes. Oh,
that,
yeah.
that get a real kick out of having a list and then checking it off. And Santa Claus?
Right.
No, I'm seriously.
Actually,
but
my husband,
well, there you go. Yeah.
I find lists all over the house.
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever actually uses the list, but he creates them. And then I
That's-
think
yeah.
it's in his head.
Sure.
So it helps, and it makes him, there's something about it gives him that boost to know I got it done.
Right.
Everything on that
Absolutely.
list is done.
That makes sense.
So that was one of them that I thought, that's something we all can do every day. Like that if there's a choice we made during the day that was toward our goal. So maybe it was, I chose to not buy the 3-pack of cookies at Subway with my salad. It was a little step towards my goal.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
another one was the serotonin. That was
Okay.
one, and I don't know about you, but I find this kind of thing very interesting to learn about things that are going on in our own bodies that we don't always understand. And I think we all experience it, and we know when you talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like when that happens. But in the day-to-day, you probably don't think about it too much.
No, you become almost just a a victim of it until you
Yes.
realize, oh, well, of course.
Right. That's why that's going
That's
on.
why I'm feeling it's not just that the whole world is going down the tubes.
Right.
It's that this is happening inside my body.
Yes. Yes. And so if you are someone who deals with maybe depression or anxiety, serotonin is something that really helps to boost your feelings out of that. It reduces depression. And one of the things I thought was very interesting in the article is it said that something that boosts serotonin is confidence.
Oh, wow.
And I got to thinking about those times when I'm probably at my lowest are times that I'm feeling like a failure maybe, or I'm not able to do something. And I thought, wow, confidence, I never would have connected that.
Well, you know what? That makes me think about those times when I have gone for a long time doing things that I'm not very confident in, that are all a little bit out of my realm of expertise, and I keep feeling like I'm just kind of spinning my wheels, and I'm not really knocking it out of the park, and I'm kind of like, do that for a long time, and it's almost like you need to step back into your realm and just spend a little bit of time really doing that thing that you're really competent at.
Yes.
And build up the confidence. Then you're ready to go back into the stuff that's a little more challenging.
Right. That's exactly what this article talked about, was if you have an opportunity to do something that you experience a little bit of success or sense that, oh, I can do that. Like, for example, if you are someone who's been a little sedentary, for example, getting out and going for a short walk reminds you that, oh, actually, I have this in me to do it. I just don't think about it, or I haven't been taking time or making time to do this to help me feel a little better. And so a simple thing like stepping outside and walking 10 minutes can actually help that serotonin level in you as you become more confident and just are doing something that you know your body can do and is good at, and it helps. So I thought, that has been a goal of mine for a while, to try to walk more, just because I think it's something pretty easy to do. But I do notice a difference in how I feel, partially from being outside and getting some sunshine, and there's all the vitamins that come with that, but it is a mood enhancer. And so being outside, looking up, having that time to be in nature, and also that when you're walking, your mind might be wandering a little bit, but you're not probably working on work in those moments.
Right.
You might be brainstorming or letting your mind think about something from work, but it's more free flow.
Right. And even just your body moving, the oxygen coming in and going out, the blood pumping a little bit faster, even if you're not working up a sweat and doing a big cardio, just getting the movement,
Yes.
is really, really helpful.
Yes. So that was one that I thought, that's a pretty simple thing to do. All of these really are pretty simple. Oxytocin is one that I wasn't as familiar with. I just hadn't really ever read much about it or thought much about it, but it's actually the love hormone, and it's triggered when you have intimacy, and it doesn't need to be like physical intimacy, but just even the...
I get tons of oxytocin from Oscar, my little dog.
Yes.
We snuggle. He comes over to me and at the end of the day, and he crawls up on my lap, and we're just all snuggly, and oh my gosh. Yeah, super oxytocin.
And he's getting it back.
And he's getting it back.
He is, because it's that...
he doesn't love me. He just loves oxytocin.
He's coming to get his hit. So when you think about that, though, if you're trying to up that, because it does help you feel a lot better, like oxytocin is one of those things that you will notice in your body, and when you think about, okay, let's take a dog, I think of our dogs, and when you are looking at them, or they come over and they need a little attention, and our dogs are big, so they might rest their head on your knee, and they have that look in their eye as they look up at you. It just makes you go, oh. And it's like, it's those moments where you're feeling that love
Right.
hormone, that piece inside of you that is opening up and
Sure.
taking notice of it, I think, is
Yeah.
then the next important step. And one of the things this article talked about in helping yourself to have more opportunities for this is to have social trust with people around you. So moving out of dogs for a minute.
Okay.
When you are with people and you are wanting that to be present, one of the things is if you trust the person that you're with, it will allow your body to relax enough to be able to produce that. And so if you're constantly having to be around people who are very stressful for you to be around, or you just don't feel like you have that level of trust with them, you may notice that there are things you might feel more tired when you're done at the end of the day, or after this meeting I just was wiped out. Well, it's because some of those things aren't necessarily present in
Yeah.
that relationship. And so you might think about who you're spending your time with. Like how much time in your day do you have to be with this particular person who tends to kind of be a little bit of a drag? And it doesn't have to be necessarily in person. I know like my kids, they communicate through text mostly.
Yeah.
Or Instagram, or not Instagram, but Snapchat.
Snapchat, yeah.
And if somebody's in a really bad mood and they're just, constantly sending
Yeah.
something to them, I watch it in them.
Yeah.
They'll be like, all of a sudden their mood has dropped.
Right.
And it's because they've been trying to interact with this person who is really negative and just hard to be around, and energy zapping.
Yeah.
Well, oxytocin's being blocked for one thing, but also some of these others
Wow.
are.
We've talked about how important it is to have trust in schools with our staff members, our colleagues, even our students. Building trust. But just think about that. If you've got a place that feels a little bit dangerous and not very trustworthy, and you're in that all day long, that's wearing. That's why we've got to work on that in our in our classrooms and our schools.
Yes.
To get to a place where we're not just sucking it out of each other. Just no more energy at the end of the day because everybody's on edge.
And we think about, so as a teacher then, if you think about your classroom and the space that you spend all your day, okay,
Yeah.
now this is about self-care.
Sure.
We could talk about this for students too, but I'm just going to step back a minute and think about myself. When I was setting up my classroom, I needed certain things to be present in the room for me to feel really comfortable. And one of the things was having it clean, like having some organization in
Right.
place where I knew where everything was and there wasn't a lot of clutter. Now in an elementary classroom, that's hard.
Yeah.
But one of the things that helped me is to set my classroom up in such a way that I felt really comfortable there, and I hope that also helped my students feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
There was a little quote in the article about the oxytocin that was just that whole idea of connecting with another person that I really liked. It said, take a small step toward someone each day, and they may reciprocate months later, but if you keep doing it, you will build trust networks. And this whole idea of just, what is it that's in my power or my control to move towards building that trusting relationship?
Yeah.
Just take a small step towards that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's saying hello. I haven't been doing that. Or maybe it's stepping out of my classroom here or there just to notice what's going on around me, or, feeling a part of things, I guess.
Maybe it's extending your answer to a question. If somebody asks you a question, you can always just give them the answer and then move on. Or you can give them the answer and then use that as a jumping off place to bring up something nice, to
Right.
to say, hey, and how are you doing with this thing,
Yes.
So it's not all just business.
Right. So, and then the last one. So there's one more,
Okay.
endorphins.
Oh.
And I think a lot of people think about endorphins with exercise.
Right.
And you think about runner's high and things like that. I've never experienced runner's. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I love to walk, and I probably get some level of that. But as far as that, like my sister's a runner, and I know a lot of runners, and there is something that kicks in for them as they're running, and they crave it. And part of it is endorphins. But what I thought was really interesting in the article about how to boost it is laughter.
Oh, that's great.
And I thought, oh yeah, they talk about laughter is one of the ways to boost endorphins naturally. So is eating dark chocolate, watching your favorite drama on Netflix, or working out and meditating. And I was thinking,
great.
In pandemic, having that go-to show that you like to just sit and relax to, or having some time to talk with whoever's in your house with you, or a friend on the phone or whatever, where you get into a good belly laugh.
Right.
And if we can do that, and I think about, just imagine that last really good belly laugh you had. There's that feeling of your sides hurting a little bit, and everything just sort of is like, it just is all clenched up for a little bit, and then you take that big breath afterwards, and you just feel the sense of, like, most people kind of at the end, and it's because our body has just experienced that
That's awesome.
boost, where it helped to just perk you up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good that list includes. I mean, it includes some things that are, exercise and meditation, but it also includes, like that favorite show that you watch. That's a social thing that you got your thing that you sit down and watch with your significant other, or with your kids, or whatever the situation is. Having those patterns that you just slip into nicely and enjoy it with especially with somebody else. I mean, you can enjoy that on your own too, but yeah.
So, as we think about this time of year and things are a little dark and maybe we feel a little down, might just consider those small things we can do that will help our body do what it's designed to do, and help us continue to improve our mood in the ways that we have control over.
Yeah.
And there are some things that are out of our control too, but if we can do those little things and then help others to do them too, like, there's nothing better with that belly laugh than if you're doing it with someone else. And so having that experience together and enjoying what we can in our day.
Well, I think this is really helpful, because there's nothing worse than feeling like your mood is going down and feeling like there's nothing I can do about it. It's just, it's something that happens to me. And maybe that, at some level that could be the case, and that might be, something where you might need to look into some assistance with that. But to know that you have some power, that you can make some choices that may help turn that around,
And maybe you're doing all these great things and you're still feeling a little
Sure.
down. That happens too. It's not saying it's the be all end all, but if you're in the midst of just sort of feeling off, you might think about, is there something that I haven't been doing? I know I've probably mentioned this before on this kind of an episode, but my grandma talked about it all the time when I was growing up, getting outside and getting your vitamins. She just would say that. And I used to laugh at her, because I'd think, how are you getting vitamins just by being outside? But you do. You really do.
Yeah.
And she knew a lot, and she spent time outside every day, no matter what, even if it was really cold, a little time outside. And so some of those things can reset us and get us in a better place.
That's great.
So that's where I went with self-care this time.
So
It's
that's
just
really helpful.
thinking about those things as we start a new year.
It's a good time to think about it, as starting the new year, being in the midst of winter time. It's a time when it can kind of slip up on you. You realize, man, I've been kind of down in the dumps for a little while, and maybe I'm not getting enough sunlight. Maybe I'm not getting out. Maybe I'm not listening to enough good music.
See, yes.
Yeah.
And the link to that will be in our
We'll put the link in
episode.
there.
But I would encourage you to think about that. If you enjoy music, taking a little time or even taking a nap to something like that and letting your mind just really settle and
That's
enjoy.
great. That's terrific.
Do you have a quote?
I do have a quote. I got to reach over here to get my quote. We'll put this up on the screen for you. So this comes from one of my I won't say one of my favorite authors, but I like her a lot, and she's got a great sense of humor, and only occasional potty mouth. And that's not what I like about her.
Oh,
But she says it like it is.
okay.
This is Anne Lamott. Anne Lamott. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
That's such great connection.
Isn't that
and we didn't
awesome?
even talk about it.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
I love it.
You just unplug for a little bit.
Yes.
Just reset.
Yes.
Just
don't forget to plug it back in.
I might. Sometimes I have forgotten to plug back in for a little while. And
Oh, that's great. I love it. Thank you for that.
Yes, and thanks to Anne Lamott.
Yes.
And thanks for keeping it clean, Anne.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us again for this, and we hope that some of this will give you a little bit of enjoyment and happiness and help your body to boost into those happy hormones.
That's right. That's right. We hope you have a really awesome start to 2021, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.